Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerduts Newsstand, and normally I don't do two videos relating to the same subject in one day, so I want to apologize, but there's a lot to cover with the ongoing situation when it comes to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and sometimes I feel like I'm digging too much into it, but if you know what, let me know in the comments below, because when I do these videos, it's hard to judge whether people enjoy it or not. So this is a situation I personally enjoy. I think all victims of domestic violence should speak out against this and not have these women, in a normal basis, trivialized. So, yeah, I try to cover it pretty quickly, but there's a lot that actually I want to talk about. So there was these texts released. Now, I'm not going to go over them in full, simply because it's Amber Heard saying she was sorry, she loved him. She is so sad. Now, all of these things, all of these texts are post-breakup. So they are basically, after she had already accused him, first and foremost, of throwing a phone at her, of viciously attacking her. Like, all of these things are after that. After she cut off his finger, after she put a cigarette out on him, like, come on. You can't expect people to have any sort of pity for you. I have absolutely none, and she's trying to go through her talent agency to kind of speak, to Johnny for her. No, she says she's so sad. I don't care. You did this to yourself. At some point in our society, we need a little bit of self-responsibility, and she has absolutely none. None whatsoever. Not only that, but in these texts, she goes on to kind of call Elon Musk a rebound. I'm like, what? This girl, she couldn't look any worse. But she calls one of the richest, smartest men in the United States a rebound. You are garbage. Let me repeat it, honey. You are garbage. You know how, people look in the mirror and they'll, try to pump themselves up? And I wonder if that's what she says to herself in the mirror. Probably not, but even so. And then when we're talking about the actual defamation suit when it comes to Virginia. So the one with her and the, not the Sun, the one with her and the Washington Post op. I'm going to be clear. She's kind of doing this whole thing. These are from the court papers recently released. And she's doing this, feel bad for me thing. And I think the media is buying into it because we're seeing these texts. Now we're seeing this feel bad for me narrative. They're trying to cover up the fact that they basically fired Johnny from Pirates of the Caribbean. So this is all kind of transforming right in front of our eyes. And they're trying to rewrite history oh, feel bad for Amber. She's such a good person. Yeah, no. She said, following my highly publicized separation from Johnny, I read accounts in the media referring to me as a victim of domestic violence. What she meant to say was, I put accounts out there in the media, and I referred to myself as a domestic violence survivor. My God. In response, many people called me a liar without even hearing your story. Well, you know what? It's been some time now. We've heard your story, and we know you're a liar. We don't even have to pretend at this point. I was dropped from a global fashion brand upcoming campaign. I lost a part in a movie in which I had already been cast. People I have never met or spoken to threaten me with violence. Now that's not okay. And that's where I'll put my foot down and say, don't ever go to these people and threaten them with violence, or she's going to talk about death threats and stuff like that. That is not okay. Yes, making, an example out of her as far as faking domestic violence is okay, but no death threats, no violence threat is ever necessary. I received so many death threats that I had to change my phone number on a near weekly basis, and that sucks. It does, but again, honey, you did this to yourself. Now, no one should receive death threats. Actually, it's very weird. I've gotten the most in the past week for simply covering this by crazy feminists. Being threatened to get beaten up, or it's ridiculous over nothing. These things are unnecessary. Now, going and looking at the truth and facts about a case and making those public, yeah, I absolutely think more people should do that. But you know what? Let's talk about the next situation, because this is new. and we are going to talk about her personal assistant. So when it comes to actors, actresses, musicians, their personal assistant is basically, I would say, just as close as a spouse for some time. They become family. They with you 7 days a week. They are at your every beck and call. And now we are going to talk about her ex-assistant, who testifies that she was mentally and verbally abusive. Imagine my shock. Like, literally, are you kidding me? I know, I expected this. We even heard Johnny Depp's ex-assistant, or I think she's still his assistant, to be honest with you, saying the same things about Amber. We haven't heard anything good besides from mainstream media coming out when it comes to, Amber's character, how she acts, how she treats people, how she is in general. So I'm not surprised in the least. Now, this is her former assistant we're going to talk about, and her name is Kate James. She was her assistant for 3 years between 2012 and 2015, and she's been an assistant to a lot of people. So she said she's been an assistant to high-profile people. So she's used to this, right? She's used to how to act. Well, let's see what she has to say about Amber. Amber was already dating Johnny when I started working for her. At first, Amber didn't tell me who Johnny was and would speak in disparaging terms about him. She would say that she was dating this old man and such like garbage. Then she disclosed that it was Johnny Depp, and then I met him shortly thereafter. My first impression of him was that we had softly spoken and how peaceful he was. He was a bit shy, he was very pleasant and courteous, open to meeting me. Now, this is not the first time we've heard things along those lines. We've heard a lot of good. Most people's first interaction with Johnny are like, he's shy, he's quiet, reserved, but he's nice. Like, most people, when it comes to Amber, are like, she's batshit crazy. She is insane. So it's not, that doesn't surprise me. When I first visited Johnny's home, I couldn't believe how similar it was to what Amber in the process is trying to create. It was almost identical. Now, what she's talking about here is she said while Amber was dating Johnny, she started to morph her personality into Johnny's personality. Now, when people spend a lot of time together and they're dating or they're married, they tend to get that way a little bit. But I think this was more of an obsessive thing. That's my takeaway from it. Then again, I'm not obviously always correct. She went on and had Laura purchase an old-fashioned typewriter after she saw Johnny had one. She threw away all paperback books and began curating an extensive collection of first edition hardcover, which I believe Johnny purchased for her at a great expense. I found all of this behavior quite bizarre. When I first met Amber, her clothing style was what I would call preppy. I can see that. Soon, very afterwards, it had drastically changed almost overnight, and she tried to morph into bohemian way of dressing, wearing more and more silver jewelry, eventually adding a repertoire of hats, which also appeared to be mimicking Johnny's style. See what I mean by obsession? Like, I get, if you're dating someone and you both like comic books, I get that. You bounce ideas off of each other, you do that kind of stuff. But to morph your style into a way that they dress seems a little obsessive to me. She says Amber realized the fame she was getting when it came to Johnny. Free designer clothing on a basis that she was simply his girlfriend. A large part of my job was contacting various brands to request free clothes. The entitlement complex here is so fucking real. It's disgusting. She would spend hours handpicking the requests. She would then send them to me so I could reach out. If the brand offered a discount, or rather for completely free, she would refuse. So if she wasn't getting them for free, I read that backwards. I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic. If she didn't get them for free, she would, in a discount instead, she would say, nope. God, so entitled. Amber was regularly verbally and mentally abusive and would often scream at me in that way over the smallest things. She would fly into blind rages where no one could reason with her. Psycho. And even if I was trying to offer an explanation, I didn't think that she could hear me because she was so angry. It was like she thought regular things could go wrong in any person's life or any given day didn't apply to her. Not only is she entitled, she's extremely selfish. She's like typical prom queen, irritating. And what I mean by that is when you're in high school, there's always that one girl, right? That is so pretty it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. So she's entitled, she's selfish, she doesn't care about people. That is Amber Heard to me. And you know what? For the second time in my life, I like picking on the prom queen. Yeah, I'm not saying I was mean to her in high school. I'm totally kidding. Everything that went wrong was always my fault. I remember one occasion where she missed a connection on a flight around Christmas 2012. My aunt was visiting from Australia at the time. She was screaming abuse at me for literally hours as though I had made it snow and caused the disruption of the flight. I'm not laughing at this girl. It was probably terrible working for her. What I'm laughing at is the fact that you can't prevent the weather. She is not Mother Nature herself. Now, I understand people in these positions, these jobs, probably go through this a lot. These people in Hollywood are very condescending, very entitled. So I'm sure this is probably a normal thing, but you gotta have some sort of human decency. You really do. She even goes on to say, and I'm not gonna keep reading it because I try to keep my videos less than 15 minutes. I feel like I bore people. But she does go on to say she wasn't even allowed to talk to Johnny Depp. Like, that's some jealous shit right there. She wasn't even allowed to have a conversation with him, and Amber would like give her the stink eye, and my God. She goes on to say, you know, she bragged about doing MDMA and ecstasy. Like, I really don't, you know what, that doesn't bother me. You're gonna do you. I don't care what type of drugs you take. But this whole situation is so messed up. But the best thing I want to cover is this one line. And it is talking about, obviously, she was there 7 days a week for 3 years, right? I never saw any physical violence by either Amber or Johnny. Now, that's great. I don't know that Amber would do something in front of somebody, but this is just another witness showing that Johnny did nothing. Another witness saying, I never saw him do anything. So I'm really glad to see this. I saw Amber much more frequently than Johnny, almost 3 days for 3 years apart, but then she was out of town. So she wasn't with them all the time. Obviously, this is not clearing it. She does go on to say, I was around her a lot, often 7 days a week. She can't clear anyone's name, but is another person saying, Amber was messed up in the head, and Johnny was super nice. There's another person saying, I never saw an ounce of violence from Johnny, and that's fantastic. Let me know what you guys think about this. This is crazy. This girl is trying to get so much sympathy. She is gross. Gross. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye. Hey guys, I want to give a huge shout out to my Subscribestar and Patreons. You guys literally make this channel possible. Black Knight Fool, Brucey, Chris C, Dave Ross, David L, Jeffrey Allen Carnes, Sanjuro, Jeremy Burtz, Joe Bustify, Gato Round, Magical Exotic Diamonds, Mighty Pauls, Mike Buckner, Robert, Steve Glasker, Timothy French, Ala's Matt Films, Alexander Trapp, Way Else One, and Troy Reiser. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like on the way out, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.